Hi there. This is Noveljutsu, and I'm your host, Raelyn. For some people, coming up with an idea is easy. For others, it's really hard. After all, you can't just force your brain to get inspired, can you? That's debatable, but there are some things that you can do to help you get the gears turning. Today's video is going to be part one of a two-part discussion on brainstorming ideas for your novel. In this video, I'm going to discuss a few practical things that you can do to help you during the brainstorming process. And next time, I'll discuss some of the places you can turn to give you that initial spark of an idea. So let's get started. Asking what-if questions is probably one of the most important practices you can adopt, and it's one of the most common ways that I come up with ideas for my stories. What-if questions can spring from just about anything, and the great thing about them is they often lead to more questions. In this case, that's a good thing. It's a great way not only to help you come up with that first idea, but also to help you grow that idea into something complex enough to write an engaging story about. Question the world around you. I don't just mean you should question complex ideas like politics, power structures, or the societal norms where you live, although that can be, and certainly has been, the start to many successful novels. Question silly or seemingly insignificant things too. What if oceans were red instead of blue? That might seem like a dumb, pointless question to ask, but if you're a horror writer, it might get you thinking of blood and how much of it you'd need to turn an entire coastline scarlet. Where did that blood come from? If you're a science fiction writer, you might start to wonder about the chemical makeup of that ocean. What scientific explanation, real or invented, would explain red seas? If you write fantasy, you might start to wonder if there are magical properties to this ocean. Do the people who live there consider the ocean sacred, or do they harness its magical energy to gain power or prestige? If you write romance, however, maybe the sea is simply red because it's reflecting the sunset in a beautiful backdrop as your lovers share their first kiss. Do you imagine your lovers alone on the beach? Are they alone because they aren't allowed to be seen together? Why? You see how asking what if leads to more questions? I got the idea for one of my novels, though not the one I'm going to cover the making of on this channel, when I overheard the tail end of a story my ex-Navy sensei was telling one of the other students at my dojo. He'd spoken of how war dogs had once been used in a particular conflict. Let me just say it was an absolutely horrific story. But even as I was repelled by what I heard, the writer in me immediately started asking, what if they were people instead of dogs? That one question was enough to plant the seed that eventually became a full novel. If you're not in the habit of asking what-if questions, you might not always know what questions to ask. The best thing that you can do is practice. Get curious about the world around you. And speaking of the world around you, it may seem counterproductive, but sometimes taking a little break from brainstorming can do wonders for your inspiration. If you've stressed yourself over coming up with an idea, or maybe you have an idea but are stuck on where to take it, stop for a moment. Back away from your computer or your notebook and go for a walk if you can. If not, just getting a few breaths of fresh air from a porch or a doorstep can give your brain some much-needed time to relax. Sometimes that's really all you need for your subconscious mind to start fitting ideas together on its own. It's no wonder that as writers, we often focus our attention on mental exercises to improve our creativity and skill. I in no way want to suggest that things like writing sprints won't be beneficial to you, but sometimes we forget to talk about how our physical health can impact our writing. The health of the mind and the health of the body, though they have their own unique issues and needs, are not completely separate. Keeping in mind that some people may have illnesses, disabilities, or financial situations that make this difficult, doing whatever you can do to eat healthily and exercise regularly might do more to help your creativity than you would think. Let me give you an unusual but relevant example from my own life. The first novel I ever completed was basically Twilight, if the romance plot had taken second stage to the whole evil vampires are gonna kill us plot. What can I say? I was a teenager once, and Twilight hadn't actually been published yet. Only when I first sat down to write this novel, I had a very frustrating problem. I could never get past the first 2 chapters. It wasn't because I didn't know what was supposed to happen. I'd outlined my novel in a lot of detail. It wasn't because I wasn't putting the work in. I'd sit down at my computer for at least an hour almost every day, but still I couldn't get past those 2 chapters. As a beginner writer, I was making a lot of mistakes with how I approached this first novel, but none of those mistakes completely explained why I just couldn't write. It was frustrating. I'd always wanted to write novels. I was trying really hard, but I couldn't make any progress, so I gave up. Then something that seemed completely unrelated happened. I found out that I can't eat gluten. It was making me sick. I'd also suffered from migraines all my life, to the point that I'd gotten so used to them that I just learned to function through them. But after 2 or 3 weeks of being gluten-free, my migraines all but disappeared. I'd had a kind of brain fog for so long, I couldn't remember what it was like not to have it. Later that same year, as the brain fog continued to clear away, I thought I'd try writing again. And 2 months, just 2 months after I sat down to write again, I had the first draft of my vampire novel completed. It was a really long novel, too, well over 100,000 words, and the 2 chapters I'd never been able to surpass before. It was a horrible, horrible story that will never see the light of day, but it was an important step for me to take. Another smaller thing I've noticed by tracking my productivity over time is the effect exercise has on my word count. Unfortunately, I don't have one anymore, but a long time ago I owned a treadmill that I converted into a tread desk. When I wrote, while walking at my tread desk, I found that even if I wasn't in a writing mood, I tended to reach higher hourly word counts than I did when I was at rest, and sometimes they were significantly higher word counts. Now, I can't promise that all of you are going to have the same increase in your word output if you're working at a tread desk, and I know that most of you are not going to have the same drastic reaction as mine just because you make sure to eat some broccoli and take the stairs now and then. But even just a 10-minute walk and some fresh air can do wonders to help you de-stress, reset, and get the creativity flowing. The last point on this list is one you probably have heard before if you've been interested in writing very long at all, but it's valuable advice worth repeating. Even if you haven't fully fleshed out your ideas, or even if you're not sure you'll ever use them, write them down anyway. Ideas can be easy to forget, so make sure you have a place to add your thoughts whenever inspiration comes. If you're having trouble coming up with a solid idea, you can revisit your list now and again. And just maybe that fragment of an idea you thought would never amount to anything will become the foundation for a story very dear to you. In my introduction video, I said I'd offer writing challenges or prompts now and then. So here's the first one. Think of your least favorite vegetable. What if it gave you magic powers? That might seem like a really cheesy question, because it is a really cheesy question, but really think about the consequences of it. What superpowers does this vegetable give you? Who gets superpowers from eating it? Can anyone get these superpowers, or just people who have a certain mutation? How would this vegetable change power dynamics? How would it impact industry and the economy, religion, relationships? Are there any other questions you can think to ask? Go ahead and post them in the comments below, or hop on over to my blog and leave a comment there. That's it for today. Now that you've got a few techniques to help you get inspired once an idea comes your way, Next time, we'll take a look at where to turn to get those ideas in the first place. I'll also talk about the idea I came up for Project Noveljutsu, my novel that I'll be using as a sort of how-to example on this channel. So be sure to tune in for the next Noveljutsu video. If you thought this video was helpful and want to work toward earning your Noveljutsu pens, go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell, and try following me on Twitter or Instagram. Links to my website and to all my social media platforms are in the description box below. See you next time!